Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another hair tutorial. I'm really excited for this one. We are talking a lot of different things between taking a platinum client darker. We're also going to be doing the braided balayage, or the braided, I guess, reverse balayage technique as well, and talking a lot of things, color theory and porosity theory when it comes to taking clients darker and just color formulation in general. So yeah, I'm really excited for all of these things. So as you guys can tell, this client is a platinum blonde and she's ready to not be a platinum blonde anymore. And I obviously made sure to let her know all the things about, like, you know, yeah, we can absolutely take you darker. And when I say dark, it's not that dark. It's dark for her, don't get me wrong. We're doing more of like a caramely-ish Teddy Bronde kind of moment. But, I mean, ultimately, that's not platinum blonde anymore, right? And so, you know, obviously I gave her the whole conversation about what that will look like when she does want to go back blonde. But also, too, my main thing with this was, how can I achieve your look today without having issues with color not taking, without having to worry about color over depositing, you know, without having to worry about things just basically processing incorrectly, so on and so forth. Because she is so platinum blonde and she's a natural level 8 too, so her hair just naturally does not have a lot of pigment in it in general. So there are lots of, like, there's lots of filling and lots of critical thinking you have to do when it comes to coming up with the correct formula for that. So we wanted to see a lot of movement in her hair, and we wanted to basically drop her down to like a brondish level 8. Here's the thing though, with those that are naturally level 8s, is that because their hair does not hold a lot of pigment, sometimes depending on the situation, their color might not take appropriately. But also too, she wanted to see, you know, she kept saying, you know, yeah, I want to see a lot of depth. And even like the inspiration pictures she was showing me, they were definitely more of like a level 7, 6. And so I kind of had to tell her, like, that's a pretty picture, but unless if you're wanting to darken your roots, it's not going to look like that on your head. And that can be what's hard when it comes to finding inspiration pictures of more like brondy-ish level 8 natural bases, because level 8s are just, I think, just since they're hard to come by. I think she's probably one of my only clients that's naturally so light. But also too, it's really hard to see a lot of depth in the overall color when they are naturally fairly light, because, you know, level 8 is medium blonde essentially. So we toyed around with a few different ideas. We talked about possibly dropping her down to a 7. Didn't want to do that because we just didn't want to worry about a demarcation line. And from what I've experienced with coloring natural level 8s, because their hair already has a hard enough time like accepting pigment, that anytime you take them any little bit darker, it can chance for things to not take or hold very appropriately. So what we just decided to ultimately do for her root was to do a quote unquote ashy version of a level 8 to kind of make it appear a little darker, because ash has obviously blue in it and blue absorbs light. But I didn't do like an 8T or an 8A. I just did 8N and a little bit of 8G from Oligo Color Gloss. So Color Gloss is really similar to Redken Shades EQ in the sense that their ends are a little bit more cooler based. They have a little bit more blue in it than what the natural hair would have in it. So because of that, the ends can kind of help to like neutralize out the root a little bit. I did not want her roots to appear blue or super smoky ashy, because that just would not have gone well with the warmer tones that we're doing on the ends. But because, again, like I said, her natural base doesn't take color well, and then the blonde's not going to help with that either. So that's also why I wanted to put in a little bit of 8G in the formula as well, to make sure that that gold is going to help for the color to take and to stick. So that's what you see me applying right around here. And then once that's all done, then I will get into the braided reverse balayage part. So as you see, I'm mainly going through the demarcation line, and then I just like to use my ventilated brush to kind of help to like further drag the product down just ever so lightly into the previous blonde, but I didn't really want to like saturate color into the previous blonde. I just felt like it was a good enough guide with what I had started out with. I had a 6-week grow-out that I was working with, so I felt like that was fairly enough. And B, too, again, same thing. Like I have a whole different formula for taking care of the previous blonde that I'm going to get into here in a second. And so I didn't really want to worry about that. Now, if you saw earlier in the video, and if you see over to like the lower right hand corner, the porosity equalizer that I used first. So I sprayed her down, and I sprayed a little bit of the oligo porosity equalizer before I got into coloring. And I will do this on really porous, really platinum people before I take them a little bit darker. If I do want to apply the color on dry hair, because the hair is going to be the most porous and the porosity is going to be the most uneven when it is dry. So it's going to help to lessen the chances of color taking more spotty, all that kind of stuff. Something else that you can do too is you can literally take them back to the shampoo bowl and get them damp. I don't love to do that. I feel like that, like, sometimes, I mean, you can get them damp and then you can kind of like really, really towel dry them. I don't prefer to, it's not that pleasant of an experience to have your hair damp for so long, for one, just having your hair wet. And with this braided reverse balayage, I've done it a couple different ways. Because you guys keep hearing me talk about, because she is so porous. I mean, look at how dark her color is taking. It literally looked like, I was like, this poor girl, she was borderline freaking out, because I don't blame her, because her color was starting to oxidize at like a level 6. I promise it didn't end up looking like that, but I wanted to make sure that her lowlights all process at the same time, so that we wouldn't have to worry about things that like deposited for too long and all that stuff. And it helped that since I did a root anyway. So what you guys see me doing is I'm doing my weaving and isolating and all that stuff out. And I'm going to color everything all at the same time. So it kind of looks kind of I don't know if it's counterintuitive is the right word, but it does look a little strange. And even my client was kind of like, so when are you going to put the color on? I was like, I promise it makes sense. But I just wanted to make sure, I wanted to have everything all braided out before I applied any color through her ends, because again, that would have, the chances of her back being darker than her front, it would be like basically like 98%. So what you see me doing is I'm taking like basically what would be like highlight sections, and I'm literally weaving out like baby light worth sections. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the piece to the top, I move it to the right, and then the piece to the bottom that was like kind of like the leave out, if you will, I move that to the left, and I keep that, and it's going to kind of like make this little like weaved out area. And the left, then what you see me doing right here, this is what I'm going to braid to isolate away. And what I end up braiding is what I do end up unbraiding later on and coloring darker. I do this throughout all 4 quadrants of her head. And what this does is it gives it a really, really, really shimmered, scattered, super duper blended overall look. Because we wanted a super blended overall result, I felt like the best way to do this was to do the braided reverse balayage for a couple reasons. One, I just felt like, yes, I could have gone in with like lowlights and done it like with a traditional foil, but like I keep saying, I didn't want a foil that could help to like incubate heat in with such a gentle canvas that I was working with, because that would definitely, I've had it before where like foil will incubate the littlest amount of heat, even if it's on like a 10 volume or 6 volume developer, and it will make the color not saturate correctly. Plus two, I wanted it to process out in open air, and I feel like because then when it processes out in open air, I feel like then it gives it the most like natural result. Honestly too, I got through the hair a little bit quicker then by applying the hair like this, and I just feel like this is going to give it the most blended overall result versus doing it where I'm taking out like a standard low light. But just my personal experience and opinion, I maybe do like a handful of these a year. I don't do a ton of them. So there's nothing wrong. I do traditional low lights all the time. My client right after this actually ended up having to do a traditional low light. But I think in cases like this where you're taking someone all over darker and you want this overall really shimmered, like air touch appearing result, I find it the easiest to do it with this braided reverse balayage technique personally. So like I said, I do all 4 sections. What you can also do too, I know most times if there's not as much of like a porosity and like fine hair issue, I'll color each section, and then what you see me braiding now, that would have traditionally all been colored, because then that would have made my time even quicker, because I would have like ran the color through the mid shaft and ends really quick and then isolated it. But again, like I said earlier, I just really wanted everything to process all at the same time. And I'm really glad that I did, because I was able to come and like check on it. So I formulated, I'll get into like my formulation here in a second, but it was something that I needed to kind of like watch pretty closely. If you ever need to, you can always do this and like do a money piece placement too. We took her money piece down drastically, and since she was so blonde, I didn't need to like touch up a money piece or anything like that. But I've done it before, where when I'm at this part of the head, I touch up the money piece while I do the braided reverse balayage too. So the opportunities of this really are endless. So okay, let's get into the low light formula. So like I said, we were going for a caramel-ish Teddy Bronde type of thing. So since personally, for me, I feel like caramel is more at like a level 7-6. So I kind of told her like we can do like a caramel appearing kind of Bronde, which is basically like I kind of made it like a warm Bronde that kind of had like hints of like more strawberry undertones in it. And then I made her blonde formula that we toned out. I made that like a really warm, neutral appearing blonde. So that they kind of all together give it a caramel-ish effect. But like I kind of had to explain to her, like, I do feel like if we do it caramel, I'm gonna have to like drop you down a level. But she was really just trying to see a lot of warmth in her hair, essentially. So with that, I did 8WG, 8G, 8GG, and that was all from Redken Shades EQ. And then I also did a little bit of 8GI as well. And the GI had a little bit of violet in it to kind of help to like give a little bit of control, just to give a little bit of control so that it wouldn't get like too. And then I also diluted it with a little bit of clear too. So that is my favorite thing to do with lowlights when I don't want them to over process and over deposit over like really bright blondes, is I put a little bit of clear in my formula too to kind of help to like slow down the processing time. I do recommend, if you're doing something like this, don't feel like you've got to like beat the clock, but try to, as much as you can, get everything applied as much in the same time as much as possible, or like only within like, maybe like a 15-ish to 20-minute overlap. That's why I kind of like that I could just unbraid this, slap this on essentially like a mid shaft to end all over color process, and then braided it back, and then, left it be. I felt like it took me about like 5 minutes per section. So it probably took me around like 20 minutes altogether. And then I let this process for the first 20 minutes first, and then I came out and checked on it because it was diluted with a little bit of clear. What clear does is it helps to basically like slow down the processing time. So with that, then you sometimes do need to like let things with clear. Sometimes you need to let them sit on a little longer. So I looked, it was definitely starting to deposit, but it kind of needed a little bit more time. So I let it sit on for like an additional 10 minutes. So I think she sat for about a half hour total, before I was able to take her back to the shampoo bowl and to like rinse it out and do her end toner. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about the end toner formula as well. So we decided for all over, we did, more of like an ashy-ish root. And then we did a warm low light, which is what you see me applying here. And then I wanted more of like a neutral end. These were all still at a level 8. The only thing was that with the end toner, I did do 8 with a little bit of 9 just to give it like a little bit of like a highlighted shimmer. But for the most part, everything was predominantly at a level 8. So if you're ever doing tone, like level on level colors like this, but you just want to see different types of shimmers and tonality differences, that's definitely like a recommendation that I have, is to try to find spots where you want to see a little bit more cool tones in like one zone, and maybe like in a low light you want to see another tone, and then in like the highlight you want to. I'm not gonna lie, definitely had to use my whole trust the process mantra with this toning process, because I knew I wanted to see, you know, again, like a kind of like warmy Bronde strawberry effect, but I felt like it pretty much looked like straight up like strawberry at the bowl at first when I was first toning it. But as you saw, then once when the toner was starting to sit, it was actually starting to oxidize and do its thing. And this is what we're left off with everything straight. It is super, super blendy. Like I was saying, it looks amazing. Even she was like, I blew dry like the first section. Like I said, this poor girl, like, remember how dark her root was oxidizing earlier? And this root was literally perfect. And even see, look, it literally has, and with that too, everything is like level on level, but just all these different tones and that little shimmer of highlight and applying it wet at the bowl with that highlight too versus doing it dry at the chair. This just gives her so much just extra blend, variation, not a line in sight. I'm excited to see if she does end up keeping this long term and what that'll end up looking like for her. But I just feel like we have like this perfect type of like caramel-ish effect on her hair all over. Hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what kind of other videos you guys want to see, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.